Rise Mzansi leader Songezo Zibi has been elected chairperson of the Standing Committee on Public Accounts. Now, the Scopa chairperson has traditionally been from an opposition party whose member is required to act without fear or favour to ensure that public money is accounted for. Mr. Zibi joining us tonight. Good evening to you, sir, and congratulations on your appointment, or should we say your election, to be the Scopa chairperson. But I'm going to go straight for the head. How do you respond to reservations that you will not be an effective Scopa chairperson because your party is a signatory to the Government of National Unity?
No, I understand the concern in terms of the interpretation that people have of what it means to be in government. But I have always said throughout the campaign last year that there are two sides to governing in our constitutional system. There is a work of parliament, because that is also governing. There is also the work of the government executive. In this case, Rise Mzansi is not in the government executive. We do not have a minister. We do not have a deputy minister. We do not caucus with the ANC. We do not caucus with the Democratic Alliance either, the two biggest parties in the government of national unity.
Yeah.
And I think it's been a norm in recent times that the chairperson of Scopa comes from a political party that is not in the government executive and therefore in the opposition in the previous election outcomes. South Africans will also remember that some of the most famous Scopa chairpersons, or at least one of the most famous during the arms deal, was Gavin Woods. He was from the Inkatha Freedom Party, and Chief Mangosuthu Buthelezi was a minister at the time. And he did his work very effectively. There were ANC members on that committee like Lalu Chiba and Andrew Feinstein, who did a very effective job. I think what really matters, Chloe, is our loyalty to the Constitution. And if all the members of Scopa are loyal to the Constitution, then they will do a good job. If they're not, then there's a problem.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned both the ANC and the DA, who probably are, significant partners in this GNU, because you were nominated by the ANC, seconded by the Democratic Alliance. Now, some people are sitting and thinking, is Mr. Zibi, will he owe a debt of gratitude to these parties whenever their representatives come to account?
Well, the other political parties that did not get a chance to, at least that did not voice an opinion. So we actually spoke to all the political parties, fun enough, in the lead up to this, because an election does not just happen in a vacuum. We spoke to the African National Congress. On its own, the African National Congress cannot get a chairperson elected. We spoke to the Democratic Alliance. On their own, they cannot get a chairperson elected. We actually spoke to MK yesterday to secure their support. They did not raise an objection. So in the event, nobody knows what they would have said, but we spoke to them too.
Yeah.
And we said we would like them to support myself for chairperson of Scopa, and they did not object. So I think the trustworthiness of the person that's also being elected as chairperson is important. And the EFF pointedly said, they're not saying I am a problem, they're speaking to the principle, and I accept that.
Yeah. This is a super oversight committee, as some have described it. Essentially, its mandate is to ensure that people's money is accounted for. South Africans are yearning for a zero tolerance when it comes to corruption. What's your plan on carrying out that mandate?
So the first thing, Polly, is to say that I completely agree. I mean, I was the editor of a newspaper, The Business Day. In my valedictory column for The Business Day in 2016 in February, I spoke about how much trouble the country is in. The reason I decided to participate in politics was after seeing the scale of the corruption and the scale of the suffering that South Africans are going through. And I think it's important to not get lost in the technicalities of the general discussion in public as we have it. There are real consequences. The most important thing is to get on the same page with all the members of the committee. I think what I will seek is a commitment from all of us to one another that we are loyal to the Constitution, we are loyal to Parliament, certain party political interests. The second thing is to take this work with seriousness and do it as professionally as we can so that we can serve Parliament and we can serve the South African people. The third thing is to produce high quality work that South Africans deserve out of the taxes that they are paying for, so that we can help to build a culture of careful and considered use of public funds in future, so that one day Scopa becomes a very boring committee that no journalist wants to cover because nothing interesting comes out of there. I will be happy at that point.
Yeah. Talking about technicalities, at the moment, you will know this, I don't need you, I'm sure you don't need a reminder that the Department of Public Enterprises no longer exists. Under its fold would have been utilities like Eskom, Transnet. So without that department now, how, or perhaps South Africans will be wondering which departments or which government entities are going to be coming to account to your Scopa committee. Are you able to tell us which are some of the key ones that perhaps we should look out for?
Look, I think it is important to also say to viewers at home that the reason the state-owned entities ended up becoming the most frequent witnesses at the Standing Committee on Public Accounts is because of the level of corruption and looting and wasting of money that has been going on there for a really long time. But the mandate of Scopa is actually quite broad in terms of the full national government. There are government departments themselves, there are state-owned entities, there are other government agencies. They all come under the scrutiny of Scopa. I will not say where we will focus now because a couple of things have got to happen clearly. So I am going to have a meeting, for instance, with the Auditor General soon. I am going to have a meeting with each member of the committee because we need to do that. We're going to meet as a committee, get all the briefings. I will be meeting in just over a week or in just over a week's time. The previous chairperson of the Standing Committee on Public Accounts. We need to do all of that, understand what issues are outstanding and what themes we need to focus on as we go forward on an informed basis, and then begin to do the work.
Songezo Zibi, I want to thank you very much for your time tonight, and once again, congratulations on your election as the Scopa chairperson.